What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Mint Street Mondays, brought to you by the One Carolina Show. Thank you for joining me this morning. My name is John Farmer. I'm your host. If you don't know me or are not familiar with me, you can follow me on X, on Instagram, on TikTok, and anywhere you can find me on the One Carolina or the One Carolina Show. If you just type in One Carolina, you'll more than likely see my ugly mug with a little crown and headphones on top of it. But nonetheless, we are here. It is, obviously not the kind of mornings that we hope for, but hey, listen, I think at this point, Jimmy Johnson said this one time last year when they were talking about us, and he said it's a fun game to watch. It's you love to watch football and, rep the team. And, for those of us who are a little more interested, or vested, I should say, whether that be through content creation or just, our natural inclination to be upset over and over again by this team, we continue to show up and support regardless. So just like some of you guys that I see in the chat, shout out to Roadmaster. Said, who's got fired? I'm not sure. I haven't looked to see if someone got fired at this point, but I will take a further look at that because that's interesting if someone did. I will say this, I have started out the day on, and this is tough to say because, had a little clip that I had put out that, talked about giving Avero his flowers. And, I feel like we might be on Avero watch this morning. But nonetheless, thank you for being here. C3 Anthony, what's up, man? Says, what's up, John? Remember 2 weeks ago I said we may have to have some uncomfortable conversations about Dave Canales. Oh, we're going to get to it, brother. Trust and believe. Shout out to your boy KLS. Time for some changes in Carolina. I agree. Steve-O says we see flashes from Bryce. We see flashes from Canales. I swear if he says we're going to work on fundamentals one more time, it takes 2 years to understand basic fundamentals. My sentiments exactly. All right. What's up, my boy Keeb, my brother? All right. And look, appreciate y'all being here today. We got 53 so far watching between two platforms, 12 likes. Make sure to smash that like button. Get the algorithm going. So Keeb is here, so I'm sure he'll be familiar with some of the conversations that he and I, had last night. But I asked myself a question last night, wanted to kind of sleep on some of my thoughts because some of them might have been a little bit too hyperbolic. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to just, see a loss like this after a big win like that and just think, oh man, thinking the worst of the possible worst. But I did ask Ricky Raines a question when we had when I had my last pod. Shout out to Ricky Raines. I said, man, which Panthers do you think show up Sunday? Like, what do you think the real Panthers? Who do you think the real Panthers are? Right. And my walkaway was his walkaway, which was the same, kind of middle of the road. Right. But what we learned was something completely different. We learned that this Panthers team is literal Jekyll and Hyde, but more Hyde than Jekyll, if you want to say Hyde being the worst. I would say that this team needs some drastic cultural changes. But the real question is, from even this point forward, I mean, can it get any worse? And I think the answer to that is yes. When you've been this bad for this long, I've always talked about this. What well do you draw from, right? Like when you bring in certain guys, you've got guys on this roster that have championship experience. Turk Wharton has championship experience. Bobby Brown, Ashawn Robinson. These guys have championship experience, right? But they haven't experienced that here. So there's not a well to draw from here. That's the reason why I've always felt like the worst thing that this franchise ever did was, quote unquote, we're allowing Cam Newton to request a trade. Because we've never recovered since. We've had brief moments of, Sam Darnold's 3-0 start before that fell apart. But beyond that, we haven't tasted any success. We had the brief moment of Steve Wilkes and what he was able to, accomplish after taking over from Matt Rule's 1-4 start. But we really hadn't seen anything since. And then I saw this. Visible frustration. Shout out to Vashti with Carolina Blitz. This is a clip per David Newton, one that was put out, of David Tepper's visible frustration. You can see that he's angry. And he should be. Right? But who are you angry at? Is it just you? Is it just them? Or is it also you? We don't know. Don't know the answer to that question. I do know this. I know that since the time that you took over, things have gotten bad, worse, and now potentially tragic. Why tragic? You know, many people think that the Bryce Young truthers or supporters are out there, you know, just to prove their pick right. You just want to prove your pick right. That's all it is. No, not really. I think that some of those people would like to think that, but more importantly, we want to prove the opportunity to be correct. Why? Because I'm telling you, it can get worse. It can get historically worse. We've seen historically bad before. Cleveland, 1 game in 2 years. Do I think we're that bad? No. The Detroit Lions, never having a Super Bowl appearance. Do I think we're that bad? Maybe. Especially now. Because if this doesn't work, how do you drag yourself out of where we are right now? That's a real question. Where do you go? Like, who do you pull from? Right? There's nobody coming through the door to save you. And the thing that's even worse is like, man, if you're really going to blow this thing up and start over, who are you going to, like, who's going to come and work here? I know it's one of 32 jobs. I get that. You know, that's important. There's 32 of these gigs, so you're always going to find a guy. But your guy is probably going to be of the current Canales persuasion. And I don't know that it's hard to tell right now whether Dave Canales is overwhelmed, if Dave Canales is going to be a good coach, because we've seen moments. But it just feels like when these guys get off script, that first drive was masterful. Oh, man, it was beautiful. I'm thinking like, man, I see the graphic. The Panthers have outscored their opponents in the first drive or whatever, 43-0 through 5 quarters. I'm like, oh, baby, we back. No. Because just like Mike Tyson said, the old adage, everybody's got a plan till you hit them in the mouth. When Milton Williams started getting, I don't want to say the word penetrate because that sounds, but anyway, penetrate, pause. You know, when that starts happening, when the pressure starts breaking down and things like that, I'm telling you, it gets different. It gets different. And lo and behold, here we are in a situation where we get absolutely hammered. Special teams selling. Bryce Young missing on throws. Dave Canales calling draw plays on 3rd and 12. Right? So, is it overwhelmed? Don't know yet. We'll figure that out. Shout out to Steve O, I believe it was, for the super chat. We'll get that pulled up here in just a second. Steve O says Ron Rivera could turn it around. Maybe. But if you're Ron Rivera, would you really want to come back to the situation? No. There's not a chance. That's what I'm saying. That's what makes this so fascinating. What makes it fascinating is just like, who are you going to get? Like, who is really going to, like, think about this from a young coach's perspective, right? If Dave Canales does not turn this around, which all intents and purposes point to that that's not going to happen, right? Who do you get? If you're a young coach and you see this situation here, now, the one thing I'll give Tepper credit for is he hadn't had as quick a trigger as you would normally have, right? Or he would normally have, I should say. But, I mean, who are you going to convince that are the young guys, especially, like I said, yes, there's only 32 of these jobs. But some of these guys can be coordinators. Norv Turner tried it at the head coaching spot with the Chargers. Norv Turner was built to be a coordinator, right? Cool. Wade Phillips tried it with the Dallas Cowboys. Wade Phillips is built to be a defensive mind, defensive coordinator, right? Bum, his father was, was a real good teacher, nonetheless. But, Some guys are just meant to be coordinators because when you become a head coach, there's so many more responsibilities that you have, right? I said this before. Really, really great teacher told me this one time. He said, John, you cannot manage salespeople. You can only manage their activities, right? Which means you can still be tough. Doesn't mean you have to be soft. You can still be tough on them. But like when I hear a quote like this from Derek Brown, like, I'll be honest with you, and I'll get to the comments in a second. I'm a little bit bothered by this personally, but I understand where he's coming from. Not bothered with Derek Brown, but bothered because of the circumstance.
We gotta have his back. You know what I'm saying? That feeling last week is one that we need to keep having, and it's one that we gotta keep working on. We want to achieve every week, right? So, we appreciate him. I mean, like this team knows, man. We want to be a player-run team. We want to be a player-led team. To where it doesn't matter what he calls, it doesn't matter what Dave and Brad call, or Tracy. We want to go out there and have execution at the highest level so we can enjoy the fruits of our labor. You know what I'm saying?
5 things to say about that. No, 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 and no. Why? We want to be a player-led team. We want to be a player-run team. Then we got to go out here and take the responsibility. Sometimes you need to get kicked in the ass. Excuse my language. Sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it's like, no, we're not going to be a player-led team today. We're going to be a you-do-what-I-say team, or you're on the bench. Because if you allow the players to lead everything, you got multiple different personalities. I had a few different people weigh in on this yesterday. A couple of people that I respect. One of my moderators, Willie, who doesn't even know he's a moderator. So salute to Willie. Congratulations on your wrench, my friend. Willie is a dedicated, one of the most dedicated people I've seen on my channel, and I very much appreciate you. And there's other wrenches. Say I don't go live. I didn't go live a lot, so there's other wrenches that'll be handed out soon. Trust me. But Willie is a retired military veteran, and thank you for your service. But Willie talked about it, chain of command. Man, listen, we cannot go fly by seat of the pants. One person has a personality. He says this, this, and this. I think if you're going to have a player-led team, there's one player in particular that should be, anyway, the loudest and most respected voice in the room. And that's the guy that is your CEO. That's your quarterback, right? I can't tell you how many clips keep surfacing of that 2015 team where you just like, man, Luke Kuechly said something about Cam that I thought was fascinating. He was like, man, I can't remember whose show this was on. It might have been on Kay Adams or, one of these shows. I don't remember right off the top of my head. But he said Cam was the type of guy that really didn't go after anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't really, dog players out or whatever like that. He didn't really go after anybody, but man, his points stuck, right? Think about it. They get into the training camp fight. Who do you hear from? You don't hear from Josh. You might hear a sorry whenever they get, in the locker room or whatever like that, and they, give each other a pound and move forward. You heard from Cam specifically when those guys were still sitting in front of the fans. You can see the fans behind him. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, we messed up. We understand it. We get it. This is one of those things we're going to learn from. It's not even so much, hey, I'm sorry or anything like that. It's just the heat of passion, the heat of the moment. We're going to learn from it, and we're going to get better, right? And it's like, yo, I would kill to see that. I would kill to see that. Because I feel like it's not even so much your stature. It's just because Bryce has the ability as a quarterback, right? But can you hold people accountable if you not meeting your end of the bargain? Guess what? Cam didn't always meet his end of the bargain. That's going to be tough for some people to hear. Cam didn't have the greatest completion percentage in the world. He was an otherworldly human that could do other things to compensate for it, a whole lot, right? But yet and still, like, you believed in him. He's in the foxhole with me. Hey, he might have missed, Greg Olsen on this quick out. We might have went 3 and out. But you know what? We know that guy right there, he's got rushing ability. He's going to drag us out of this somehow. Hey, Luke, I believe in you, man. Luke, I know you can get this done. TD, you can get this done. Get me the ball back. Remember the whole look? Okay. Against New York, that's when I knew. I'm like, oh, yeah. And I mean, that was late in the season. But at that point, you knew, like, this is a team of destiny, right? You could just tell. I don't feel that anywhere on this roster. Anywhere. Man, when J.C. Horn, I get it. I know J.C. Horn wants to like not have a specific persona because you want to respect your opponent, right? You got to see the Falcons twice a year. But boy, I loved hearing that audio on the sideline. And I kind of wish he would have stood on it. I ain't even gonna lie. I wish he would have stood on it. Yeah, I said it. And you know what I'm saying? Do something. You from Atlanta? One of your Atlanta people said, where I'm from, if you don't like it, we do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, do something about it. Nah, we ain't taking that back. Shout out to Steve-O again for another $1.99 super chat. Where he says, we need a in-your-face coach when you messed up. I can agree with that to a degree. Absolutely. So I'm going to try and catch up on these comments as much as I can. Let's see. C3 Anthony says, it's funny because wanting to be a player-led team means they do not believe in what Canales is saying. Derek basically said so, I think is what you're trying to say. Roadmaster says, Bryce is trash, Avero too. Bot Chad says, too busy playing 7-on-7 and learn how to wrap up. Thank you, 3. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. Josh P, what's going on, man? Appreciate you. Panthers for life, appreciate you. Caleb Dixon, appreciate you. So, you know, man, this is, I really hate this, man. I hate doing shows like this. I can't stand it. Because it's just like, man, like, how bad does this get? When do we ever see life from any of this, right? David Newton wrote an article highlighting some of this in ESPN yesterday. He says, and David Newton, man, I want to like David Newton sometimes. I really do. Because, I mean, he put in a lot of work. You know, he's our only ESPN representation. But, boy, it gets old sometimes, especially some of the questions. And we'll get to it, man. It says, this might be the ultimate test of patience for Carolina Panthers owner David Tepper. Sunday's 42-13 loss to the New England Patriots was a complete team failure. So much that Coach Dave Canales took full responsibility for the collapse that left Carolina with a 1-3 record. When it happens in all phases, I'm the common denominator, Canales said after falling to 6-15 since Tepper hired him in the 2024 season. That is a brutal, brutal record to hear. And, you know, I got love for Canales, man, because I can see the vision. I can see what he would like to try to do, right? Building that whole Pete Carroll model of player-led, you know what I'm saying, driven or anything like that. The biggest difference, though, is that when you go back and look at Pete Carroll's teams, there were guys on the teams that had those personalities. It's got to come from somewhere. Who has it? And I'm talking about like loud, in-your-face type of personalities. Like, I think that's required. Okay, so if you didn't have it from Pete Carroll because he's walking up and down the sideline chewing gum, boy, you sure did have it from Sherman. You sure did have it from Bobby. You might not have had it vocally, but on the field you had it with Marshawn Lynch. And that team was, they played bully ball, man. 7-9, 2 years in a row before they got Russell Wilson, right? So you could see that there's a nucleus here that if we have to prop in a quarterback at some point, which they did, we got a structure built. So now he can come in and do his part. And once he does his part, hey, man, we in good shape. Let's go to a super chat. Shout out to Bot Chad for the super chat. Bot Chad says, we'll have life when Tepper leaves. Remember him preseason talking to TD, J. Stu, and Cam and Greg about how to invest? Yeah, it's trickle-down pansy nonsense, and it comes from the top down. I'll say this, man. You know, Bot Chad, that's a great point, and thank you for the super chat. Where's he going and why? If you're making as much money, when you get to that level, man, the concerts, Kendrick, Luke, you know, all these different things that you've done, you know, look, from a philanthropic perspective, David Tepper's always going to have love in my book. You know, I'm born and raised Asheville, North Carolina. You know, when Helene happened, you know, allowing one of our own, one of my classmates, well, not my direct classmate, but one of my schoolmates, Luke Combs, to come in and do a concert to raise money to benefit the Carolinas. that were absolutely ravaged. People that I knew that, I lost people that I knew, people that I knew lost people that they knew, businesses destroyed, all that kind of stuff. Like, from a philanthropic perspective, you get mad love from me, right? But it's such a cash cow for him. Charlotte FC, man, that stadium is rocking. It seemed like every time they show up to play, it looked like the 2015 NFC Championship. It is lit. You know what I'm saying? And you just don't have that with Carolina. So I honestly, he was frustrated, clearly, because the NFL is the most visible brand. And your name, like, his name means something connected to this, right? You do not want to be in the most popular sport in America, one of the most popular sports on earth, right? And have your name be attached to the likes of people like Dan Snyder, Jimmy Haslam. You know what I'm saying? Because I know, look, you can sleep comfortably when you up a bill, right? But your name still means something. This man flattened somebody's house and built another house on top of it just to flex because he didn't promote you at work or didn't give you a specific type of job, whatever it was, right? At JP Morgan Chase. So clearly your name means something to you. Do I think that he's going to, like, sell the franchise? No, because he'd be crazy to. I wouldn't sell it, right? But what do I think should happen? It's funny. Talked about this last night. And soon we'll have our host join. My perspective on that is this, no, he's not going to sell the franchise. And I don't even think they can make him sell the franchise short of finding some kind of dirt. That's what you'd have to look for. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen because I wouldn't want that to happen, right? I guess that sort of happened to Jerry. It definitely happened to Dan, right? But maybe he just gets tired of the sullying of his name. But in all honesty, let me tell you what I really want to happen. What I want to happen is him to be successful, because if he's successful with building this team, then that means that we're happy, the fans are happy, that we got a good product on the field. And clearly right now that's not the case. Do I think that he's trying? Yes, I am going to give him the credit to say he's at least trying. But I do think that there are certain moves that you make and certain things that you do where you kind of have to step away and maybe not do, like, I'll give you an example, right? Let's go back to the quarterback competition when we drafted. Yes, everybody knows I was clamoring for Bryce Young. I thought Bryce Young was going to be phenomenal, right? And CJ Stroud I thought would be good, right? But I just felt like Bryce was a better pick for us, better fit for us, would be a better quarterback, right? And it was interesting because when you watched Frank Reich and you saw the pro days, right? Frank Reich's out there. He got the phone, he out there smiling, phone up and everything like that. And you're like, man, this guy's super excited. I didn't think he would be this excited for a player. It was just crazy to watch. Josh saying the whole thing about when you come to Charlotte or whatever like that. They try to clean that up. But I think when you look back at it, we knew what he meant, right? Or it came out the way that it was supposed to come out. I'll put it to you that way. And then you go watch him at Bryce's pro day. Arms folded, stoic look. It's just like, okay, cool. Now, Frank's a stand-up dude. Frank's a Christian. Frank's a pastor. So Frank is probably not going to do what we would want and just come out and give it up and be like, yo, man, we knew from Jump Street this wasn't it, right? But you could tell. And when I think back now, I'm like, okay, if you're going to be the right type of owner, in my opinion, right? And far be it for me to say this because I'm not, connected to the NFL in any way. I'm a fan like the rest of you guys, right? And girls. But if you're going to be the right type of owner, in my opinion, I think that in the moment when you see a guy extremely excited, Boomer Esiason came out and said as much. Oh, they wanted Stroud. Without question, they wanted Stroud, right? Then get out of his way. Regardless of whether me or any other person wanted AR, wanted, Bryce Young, whoever it is you wanted. What does your coach want? What does he see? Because the last time, look, the best statistical season that Carson Wentz had after he fell off a cliff was under Frank Reich. The best statistical season that Andrew Luck had in his career was under Frank Reich, right? Now, it might not have resulted in a ton of playoff success, but I'm sure that Frank Reich didn't plan on losing Andrew Luck randomly on a Friday. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think that when those moves are made, don't veto that. allegedly don't walk down to the locker room and hand a napkin of a play you seen Cleveland run and say like, hey man, I think y'all should try this. Because what they going to say? No? Of course they're going to say yes. Anyway, joining me on the show this morning is a friend of the show, a person who is one of the most astute minds in the history of Watauga County. Welcome to the show, my man, Invisible Brad. What's up, Brad?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing great. So, Brad, I got questions, man. I started this off with just asking, like, can this thing get any worse? Is it as bad as it's going to get, or can it get worse?
Yeah, I mean, it could always get worse. I mean, we could have got punched in the mouth and beat like this against Atlanta. We could have, not looked competent in the somewhat competency that we had through a few quarters in the Arizona game. But yesterday, as far as, three-phase football, offense, defense, special teams, no, it can't get any worse. I mean, I haven't seen that kind of just inadequacy and inability to play lane, gap, discipline ever. I mean, ever. I mean, the fact that we made Marcus Jones look like Devin Hester was it just blew my mind. I mean,
yeah.
Before the game, everybody in the league, I mean, they were just talking about all this dirty kick, man. Carolina's so good on special teams. And I understand, Bryson Tremaine's got to play offensive snaps, so that takes him away from, special teams coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Delvon Campbell had to play a couple snaps, David Moore, they call him Demo, all the stuff that he does. And then, once those guys got injured in the first quarter, I mean, Moore the first snap, Campbell the first quarter, we literally ran more, 2-3 tight end sets than the mid-2000s Patriots, when they had that guy and Gronkowski. And it's just, we had no explosiveness on offense. And then the defense, from all these, positives, all this, oh man, is, Vero changing the scheme. We're letting the young guys get some burn.
Mm-hmm.
They 6 touchdowns, man. They gave up 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So as far as yesterday's game goes, no, it can't get any worse. As far as the season, it could be worse.
Man, it's crazy. So let me ask you this, because I posed this question earlier. I'm going to play this clip from Derek Brown about player-led team, and I want to ask your opinion on his response to something I'm going to ask your opinion on my response to something that he says here.
Coach takes the blame for us all the time. We got to step up. We got to have his back. You know what I'm saying? That feeling last week is one that we need to keep having, and it's one that we got to keep working on. We want to achieve every week, right? So, we appreciate him. I mean, like, this team knows, man. We want to be a player-run team. We want to be a player-led team, to where it doesn't matter what he calls. It doesn't matter what Dave and Brad call. Or Tracy. We want to go out there and have execution at the highest level, so we can enjoy the fruits of our labor. You know what I'm saying?
I don't necessarily disagree with what Derek is saying when I listen to it more, when he's saying that we want to be a player-led team that ... does not have to rely on or think about what they call as much as how we execute. And I do think he's right there. But I also think that, in my opinion, the type of coach that someone like a Wilkes was when he was here, and I'm sure Derek had, obviously Derek experienced that, right? There's a huge difference between the type of leadership that you have when it's more in your face and, hey, let's get to it, as opposed to, hey, I'm going to give you guys the reins. I'm going to lead you, right? But you're grown men. I want you to kind of figure it out. Like, in your opinion and from your experience in life, which do you think has worked better for you as a former player? People that if you don't know this, Brad was a former football player for the Appalachian State Mountaineers. So, salute to App State. But like, and you played for one of the, like, not one of the legendary coach, Jerry, I think his name. Yeah, Coach Jerry for Appalachian State. So like, and I'm sure that his leadership style to win back-to-back natties and in the fashion that they did and have that run that they had during the time you were there, like, was his coaching style kind of passive aggressive, or did he kind of have that hard-nosed approach?
Well, I mean, I like what you said earlier about, you're talking about your different jobs and, your mentorship from the people you've worked for. Kind of goes back to, remember the Titans, attitude reflects leadership type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you give people the autonomy to do their job and do their job correctly, and you set the kind of standards, then people do get more freedom in what they do. So with that, I'd like to go back to, the Tepper thing. I mean, are these guys really in control? Are these guys really able to do what they want to do? Because it always seems like everybody's looking over their shoulder. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where this disconnect comes from these players saying, we want to be player led. We want to, have this autonomy, and we want to be able to do things our way. We want to be able to play fast. We want to be able to trust each other. All those different things come from the leadership above.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand how you have this. I mean, Don Capers, Jim Caldwell, you just don't have coaches. You have winners that were, coaches.
Yeah.
As consultants.
Mm-hmm.
On top of, Canales' brief, stint of positivity before he came here.
Mm-hmm.
You have Evero, who had his, brief positive. I mean, everybody was saying Evero was going to be the next, young head coach. That we were only going to be able to hold on to him for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And everything looks so discombobulated at this point. It does. It goes back to Canales. I mean, even in the article, I read about, J.C. Horn and Brown saying, like, we want to be more player led.
Mm-hmm.
It still goes back to Canales.
Yeah.
And so it really is this rah ask. Like, I heard, Slayer saying yesterday, he asked his players to, get on the gas pedal, give him 100%, and then we've got guys that come in after you.
Mm-hmm.
And we got guys that come in, and give you a breather because you give 110%, but we don't see that.
Right.
I mean, and a lot of people say, it's effort. I can see there are some effort plays. But I mean, you can see guys like Turk, Derek Brown, like those guys are given effort.
Mm-hmm.
But the missed assignments are so bad. I read a really, really good article about Dan Morgan and Luke Kuechly working with Trevin Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying to him, like, look, man, make the mistakes going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All this, like, pity-patty, I don't know what I'm going to do, and then end up not making a play. You consistently see that from him and Rosebloom.
That's a good question. So let's start with defense, man. Mark Schler said something yesterday during the game, and obviously it was to a lot of people's ire. He talked about how, hey, man, there are certain guys that you identify. Stay away from those guys. And he actually mentioned Trevin Wallace in that fold, which was fascinating. Because Trevin Wallace did play better yesterday, but, I mean, obviously there's still some liability there. Christian Roseboom just, didn't even show up. But he talked about, like, identify guys like, he mentioned Turk. He mentioned Derek. I think he might have mentioned Ashawn and Trevin Wallace. But then he said, man, attack the edges because there's nothing going on there. Like, attack the edges altogether. And there was one name that stood out the most. I'm not going to say his name. We'll just call him 52. So Do you think that it's an indictment to continue to see 52 be rolled out in this manner? Because a lot of people like to do that with 21. Many people like to do that with Scott. But I think the more egregious is 52. That's my opinion. Your thoughts?
Well, the thing with that particular player is they've got a lot of confidence that, we can give you credit for if he does what you say he can do.
Mm-hmm.
I seen an interview with Dan Morgan over the summer, when they were drafting, and they were saying, we feel like this particular player can set the edge.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him set the edge maybe
10 times in 3 years. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say less, you know what I mean? Like, and you got to be looking at the same film. You're a Super Bowl MVP defensive type of middle linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me you continue to look at this guy and think he's any more than a emergency player.
Mm.
But like we were talking about last night, I mean, the game plan was simple. I mean, we have a decent back four, minus Nick Scott. He out there trying to trip running backs like a bully in, 8th grade.
Yeah.
We have a pretty solid back four. We have, a good rotational, depth at roster, in the defensive line, the defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
But our linebackers are liabilities. And so what New England did was, it was a great game plan. Let's throw to our tight ends. Mm-hmm. Let's run some action. Let's run the ball, run some play action, get those linebackers guessing, and then we're going to run tight ends across the field all day.
Yeah. Rashawn
Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry ate all day.
Rashawn Hunter says this in the chat. He says, football is a physical sport. You can't have a coach whose philosophy/scheme is kill them with kindness. I find that that's fascinating. And salute to y'all in the chat, man. We got 206 people watching between 206 people watching between two platforms and only 39 likes. Let's get that like button smashed. And salute to Steve O, man. Steve O been killing us with the super chats today, man. We appreciate it so much. Steve O says, and I do agree with this to some degree, but I don't know. I think he gets one more week. I did start the show off by saying that we are on a Vero watch, right? So, the whole show format could get flipped on its head in the event that they come out and fire Vero. And, we do have press conferences at 12 o'clock. So it's possible that this could happen just kind of, out of nowhere. So we'll see what happens. But do you think based on the 30, the goose egg last week from Atlanta and then yesterday's absolute destroying, is there a world where you think that if Vero maybe finally gets the axe today?
The way Tepper was walking, it looked like some heads are going to roll.
Yeah, boy, he was tight.
But it's like Mark Schlereth was saying, if everything looks bad, who can you blame it on?
Man, he got that walk like I got a dip in my bed. Like, look how he walking at the end. Upset. I woke up, dip in my bed in the hotel, and I'm mad. And they lost. Somebody getting fired. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
He walking like he saw somebody that, has owed him money for 3 years, and they moved out of town, and then he called him outside the bar and was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Brad, it's embarrassing, man. I talked about it. I said I talked about his philanthropic work. I talked about the things that I feel like he would like to try to do. But, Bot Chad had put a super chat in and he talked about how he said, man, let me see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. He says, we'll have life when Tepper leaves. Remember him preseason talking to JD, Stu, and Cam and Greg Olsen about how to invest. Yes, the trickle-down pansy nonsense, and it comes from the top down. I don't disagree with that. But unless they find some sort of dirt on him to get him out the door, like, he generates, like, trust me, the owner of all owners, the guy who's the ringleader of the owners, if you will, and Jerry, he's happy with Tepper. Tepper comes in as the richest owner at one point before the group that took over the Washington team. You know what I'm saying? And so he's like, okay, this guy knows how to make money. He can drive revenue for the, NFL in as a whole, help with his partnerships. Like, it used to be that I think Pepsi was the partner with the Carolina Panthers. Now Coca-Cola is. You know what I'm saying? That's a very Jerry Jones type of, marketing strategy, because Jerry had that whole thing with Nike back in the 90s or whatever. And so making those type of changes, like, you like rogue guys like this if you're in that small fraternity of 32 owners, right? But as fans, it is devastating because when you see a walk like that, we've seen that walk. We've seen him sitting up in the stands by himself, you know what I'm saying, before Matt Rule ended up getting fired. So it's just, here we go again.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I've struggled with Tepper. For a man to have that kind of money and then put ketchup on his filet mignon. I just wonder what the problem. I just wonder what's going on at home.
I wonder what's going on at home.
I mean, reach out. You know what I mean?
Right.
The kind of people that sleep in blue jeans.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand.
But yeah, I mean, he has produced revenue. He has got people to donate. He's fed people at Thanksgiving. He supported local charities. But this, I mean, every time they show that graphic and they put up 7 coaches.
Yeah.
Because they don't do that when you're winning. They don't do, winning cures all.
It sure does, man.
But we've only had like 38 wins since he's took over.
Yeah.
And if you do the math, man, 16, 17 games a season, I mean, what is going on?
It's rough. It's extremely rough. Let me read this super chat from Steve O hitting us off again. Hey. All right. Steve O says, at this rate, we'll be, let's see. At this rate, we'll be after 2030 before we get it right. 2030. Hey, man, Steve, let me say this. So let's go ahead and get to let's move right along because this kind of puts us in, the next topic. I think that could be a thing. And the reason I say that is because, man, it could get real, real ugly if they decide to bench Bryce Young again. You know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, you would want this to work. Many people would have a difference of opinion about it. Some people want him out of here. Some people want to see him gone. Boy, you better hope it works. Because if it doesn't, the only thing you can hope for is if you just catch lightning in a bottle with your next coach and he knows which of these quarterbacks that are coming out of this draft is the guy that you should take. And then you build on what you have. Because if you bring a rookie quarterback in, like Cam Ward, 0-4, out there in Nashville, right, having to cuss in the press conferences and stuff like that and, talk outside of his name and all this kind of stuff, you hope that he has the mental capacity to understand, like, hey, 2 things are happening. Number 1, if I'm being drafted at the top, that means my team was really good. Number 2, if if you're drafting at the top, that means that your team was really bad. And most cases are not going to be, take Andrew Luck going to the Indianapolis Colts, right? For 6-7 years prior to that, AFC Championship, AFC Divisional Round, 10 wins, 12 wins, 11 wins, 13 wins, 14 wins. You know what I'm saying? And then 1 year where Curtis Painter, where they say, hey, we see that he didn't come out last year and go to Carolina. They got Cam. He's coming out next year. All right, cool. We're going to take him, and we're going to figure out a way to make this thing look as horrible as possible so that when Luck gets here, his talent was, high level, no doubt. But in an AFC Championship your rookie year, that's 100% you got structure in place. We don't have that. So you would hope that they could at least steady the ship with Bryce Young. If nothing else, turn it around. Got another super chat from Steve. It says, Dom Capers and Caldwell do not have a voice. I'll let you speak to that, Brad. You talked about that just a second ago. You talked about how we got championship experience, in the room. Like, do you feel like they don't have a voice? Do you feel like Tepper has restrained that voice because maybe there were too many voices going on when Bryce was drafted during the Reich regime?
I mean, I saw a video the other day of Dom Capers addressing the team. It wasn't on X's and O's. It was more of like a philosophical tie-in to just kind of like his coaching and belief and philosophy as far as, how to address players and how to, boost morale and attitude. So we have evidence that they do get to address the team, that they are at practice. But as far as hands on the scheme, I mean, we were Panthers fans, since 95. I mean, Dom Capers was heavy with the blitz. When he went to Houston, heavy on the blitz, heavy on the, defensive scheme as far as line stunts, man coverage, super physical play. That is not the case at all. So
I can't understand that for the life of me, Brad. When you think about, look how well Mike Jackson has played this year. And J.C. Horn is J.C. Horn. Now, I know that you might have a little bit of a, obviously the linebackers, you got some, some ailments there or whatever. But, like, man, do you not trust them enough to blitz, to think that they can't cover? You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I don't see why it's not dialed up more.
Well, especially when you got guys that can't play in space.
Right.
I mean, if you had, the thing about a guy like, Hall of Fame linebackers, but I remember when we had guys like James Anderson was our third best linebacker. And James it can't just be the scheme all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes the player, has to look. They talked about last week with our defense against the Falcons. It's like, we put you in the place, and then once the play starts, you stay on your marks, and then you address what you've seen in film, and you go make a play. It's like these guys, specifically our middle linebacker tandem, if you get a couple runs, especially gash them a couple times, you can run play action until the gun blows at the end of the game.
That's a fact.
I mean, they never make the right play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, outside of the Atlanta game, and even that was, just Wallace. But it's the ineffectiveness also. Like I said, mostly to me, I feel like, you got your coaches, but at some point it's the talent. And the Vero scheme for what he's running, he does not have what he needs here. I'm not going to say that it's like giving him a pass, because you do got to take what you have and make something out of it. I mean, when we were the number one defense in the league in 2002, Jack Del Rio didn't have everything at his disposal. But he still, it wasn't like a, chicken salad at a chicken crap type shape. But it was one of those things that you take what you have. I mean, we went to the Super Bowl with an aging cornerback in Peanut Tillman, an aging pass rusher in, Jared Allen.
Yeah.
But Rivero's scheme allowed those guys to get the best out of what those guys could provide at the time. And I feel like there's no adjusting for what we have on the field.
Agreed. I want to read this from Julian Council, and then we'll get to the question that's been posed about Bryce. He talks about the average margin of defeat for the Carolina Panthers head coaches. Salute to Julian Council from Locked On Panthers. He says Dave Canales is 18.2. Frank Reichs was 12.1. Matt Rule, 11.4. John Fox was 12.6. Ron Rivera, 11.1. Seifert and Dom Capers both 10.9. I'll tell you something fascinating. Dom Capers took over an expansion team, and they were putting up a better fight each week, according to Julian Council. But Edgar Salmingo, someone I really respect, says, just looked up Steve Wilkes' average margin of defeat, lowest of all of them, and he was an interim coach. I got to tell you, man, life will give you opportunities sometimes. You know, it'll just fall right in your lap. And if you don't take them, man, you may not get that chance again. Man, as a car flipper, right, I've had some cars that I'm like, man, I should have never sold, right? And it's because you're never going to find that type of deal again. And it's possible that, yeah, you may get good again for sure, right? And I think it'll happen maybe eventually, but you could be in a situation where Wilkes could have literally been that lightning in a bottle, and then going into next year, you and me had a bit of a argument about this last night when we were talking about Sam Darnold. Like, what happens if you get Minnesota's version of Sam Darnold in Carolina after they go 7-10, and you retool a bit and bring Steve Wilkes back? Now, I know that's a hard sell, especially when you've, seen Sam Darnold struggle, seen Sam Darnold, quote unquote, see ghost again. But like, sometimes something just clicks. Now, I don't know that would have happened here necessarily, because I think Sam Darnold's time around Kyle Shanahan, seeing how somebody who can take multiple different quarterbacks and make it work, you know what I'm saying, and get to Super Bowls with guys like Garoppolo, guys like Brock Purdy, even made Nick Mullins look, serviceable, right? Now Mac Jones. So like, under that type of tutelage, and I'm going to build onto something I'm saying. I'm going to keep that point, kind of bookmarked. But under that type of tutelage, man, I think that helped him develop into what he became. But like, man, what happens if Sam becomes that? I got killed for this. I had said something because that same year, Daniel Jones had made the playoffs, right? And look at Daniel Jones. Like, they lost a game yesterday because of a fumble in the end zone by Adonai Mitchell. But Daniel Jones looks like a completely different player, right? Under different circumstances. Sam Darnold, the same thing in a different location. Baker Mayfield, same thing in a different location. Real quick, I got to break off for like 2 seconds. I got 2 super chats I want to read really quick. Salute to you guys for the super chats today, man. Killing it. Thank you. HC the MC says, I don't think Dave personally fits the players. I'll start that again. It says, I don't think Dave personality fits the players we have, because we don't have those rah-rah leaders that can get you fired up and call each other out. Before I read the next super chat, Brad, what do you say to that?
Well, I mean, if we start with Bryce Young, yeah, we don't, because I feel like, with Dave, you have the, I'll say it again, said it before, you have the super positivity, super young manager or youth pastor to be like, hey guys, we can get it done. Mm-hmm. I just need you to give me the effort, and then I'll take care of the rest. You know what I mean? Like, all we got to do is show up, show out, get it done. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, I feel what they're saying in the chat, where when that doesn't happen, you got to put your feet on someone's neck, and you got to let people know, hey, like, this will not be the standard that we operate at. Mm-hmm. And because of that, so-and-so's not playing. So-and-so is not going to get these starter reps. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We're going to change the scheme. We're going to, you look at a Rivera, the several times he took play calling away from his coordinator, mm-hmm. and then would, for a few weeks until he gave it back. The way, even the mild, stupid to us punishments, like, they had standards that you had to hold players to. I do not currently see that. And then, also are players that are saying, they want to have autonomy. They want to have the team that players, can lead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what the coach is allowing you to do. I mean, you don't have a, veteran coach that's in your face all the time. And, I always talked about in New England, it wasn't fun. You know mm-hmm. what I mean? And we were talking about Baker Mayfield last week. One of his quotes after Tom Brady left mm-hmm. Tampa Bay was, it's got a lot funner since, Tom's not here anymore. And Tom Brady's retort was, I thought we wanted to win.
Period.
You know what I'm saying?
Own,
So
period.
it does, yeah. And so if you want to have this player-led team, we have not heard of a player-only meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's always dapping everybody up. Everybody's trying to act like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like when you look at the sideline, one of the things, the big thing on Cam Newton was, man, he's got the Gatorade towel on his head. He's sulking. The man hated to lose.
Yeah.
You see guys on the sideline now, I mean, we're getting, shellacked yesterday, and guys are still dapping each other up. Guys are still high-fiving. You know what I'm saying? People are talking, and you can see that as a fan.
Yes.
And yeah, that accountability, because you haven't had winners, that goes back to the coach.
Let me read this other super chat really quick. Shout out to Steve-O. Steve-O says, when I watch this team, it's like everyone has handcuffs on. They can't play to their talent or play free. I completely agree with that, and that just builds on the point that you just made, Brad. Like when you see guys, like I never will forget. Now, I thought this was probably one of the better attempts that we've seen in the last, 8 years at leadership. Shaq Thompson gets fired up. He's upset about how things are going. Shaq Thompson decides to go on a, cussing tirade and, getting in guys' faces and, stuff like that. Or I don't know if it was that intense. I would, have to do a little bit more research to find out just how intense it was, but I do remember it specifically. And I thought to myself, like, yeah, I mean, that kind of works, sometimes, but like real leadership is a constant thing, right? I just mentioned this before you came on. I'm loving that we're getting all this stuff about Cam and the behind the scenes stuff. And I think it's perfect timing because I think many people with the detractors, I love X. I love Twitter. It's one of my favorite places to be online, but it's not real life. You know what I'm saying? Because every single time that you see something on X, it's always going to be like, yeah, but you didn't jump on that ball in the Super Bowl. And it's just like, man, shut up. Like, show your face or shut up. Like look, Cam's legacy is not that he didn't jump on that football, because the reality is that if that was really his legacy, then it would have killed what he did coming back and dragging this sorry sack of an offense in 2017 to the playoffs again. You know what I'm saying? Or coming back the year after that and Cam was completing nearly 70% of his passes, man. If he doesn't get hurt, and I don't want to do this, I don't want to, start clawing back to revisionist history because it's, you want to look at where we are now. But like, man, the type of player that he was turning into in this offense with Norv Turner, and you think about the weapons, the DJ, the Christian McCaffrey, the Kurt Cole, and all these guys that they went out to get the tool around him. I think what you see in Philly right now would have been happening with us had he never blown his shoulder. But that's beside the point. We are where we are. All right, so got another super chat. I'm going to answer a comment I just seen in a second. HC the MC. HC the MC says Bryce is the only one getting angry on the sideline. Yes, he does, but I think it's ill-timed. Like, I would like to see the passion prior to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd like to see the passion in the pregame stuff. I'd like to see the passion, in the middle of it. Like, now, one thing he is, man, even if Bryce screws up, and I love this about him, man, like, if he screws up, he's still going to be dapping people as they walk into the sideline. You know what I'm saying? Yesterday, they had the scoring drive. Mitchell Evans gets his first touchdown. Bryce, the first one there to congratulate him, even though he was on the sideline. It didn't happen with me, with you, man, but hey, I'm going to celebrate it nonetheless. But Rashawn Hunter said, I'll gladly take racist John Gruden at this point. I ain't calling John Gruden that, but somebody else mentioned that to me. Hey, man, because look, I'm going to keep it a buck, Brad. And I'm not going to get too far off track. We'll get back on track in a second, but I'm going to keep it a buck, man. Like, to me, that's your pool. If this blows up with Dave Canales, which I hope that it doesn't, but it appears that it's heading in that direction. That's the type of pool that you're pulling from, unfortunately. It is what it is. But speak to that before we for just a moment, and then we're gonna go continue with the topic.
Oh yeah. He is. I could see a Gruden, somewhere rubbing his hands together, like, ooh, this just might be the kind of opportunity that can get me back in there. But I mean, we saw that, when he was talking with Bryce, and he said, "What's going on with your footwork here? Like, why?" I mean, immediately,
Yeah.
he's breaking down the deficiencies in the kid's game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I like what we were talking about last night, and that's what I mean regarding that, coaching and all that. That's what I would like to bring up. I mean, I grew up, my father was a huge Cowboys fan. And they got Jimmy Johnson, and then they just completely, I mean, he had a systemic way of drafting and evaluating players. And so, for 3, 4, 5 years, they hit on everything. Everything. And for all the positivity that Jerry Jones has received for his Netflix documentary, one of the things I saw as a kid growing up was these Cowboy fans be like, man, we're not going to win again until we get the kind of coach that Jerry doesn't want to hire. I worked in a group home atmosphere in the mountains, and I was working with high school boys, and I was old school. Look a man in the face, shake his hand, be honest. There are things you're going through now I've been through. And then when I went back to school, graduate school, I remember people telling me, like, that cottage is out of control now, and they'll never be what they was until they get someone like you there. But I constantly had issues with the upper management because I wasn't a tap dancer. So I think about this. Is Tepper going to hire the kind of coach? Because maybe Dave Canales could be that guy down the line, but as for now, he is not. And is Tepper going to hire the kind of coach, or is he going to have someone with that kind of personality in the building that might tell him, like, listen, man, back up, give me 3 feet. I just got fired from the post office. I do not need your input. I don't need your napkins. I do not need your suggestions. You just let me do what I do. I mean, we talked about that. I mean, right now, well, it's probably happened earlier because, they go and do press conferences at noon. But it's like we were talking about, this morning while we're doing this show, Dave Canales has to meet with David Tepper.
He sure does.
That's nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about, Jim Irsay's daughter on the sideline taking notes. Get in the press box, man. All I remember, one thing I loved about Big Cat was the hands-off approach. Big Cat would come and he would hang out with you while you tailgated, take a few pictures, ride around, drink his Bojangles sweet tea, and keep it moving.
Keep it pushing. Yep. Let the
Tepper,
people you hired. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Tepper, I'm Suge Knight, and I'm telling Tepper, who was P. Diddy, P. Diddy always in the music video. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be on a team or coach a team that doesn't have the producer all up in the video, you know what I'm saying? Come to Chicago. Come to some of these other teams. You see these guys we've missed out on.
Yeah. All right, got to read it.
There's a reason we missed out on them. There's a reason Ben Johnson didn't. I mean, this is his home state.
Yep.
And Tepper was coming with the money. And he was like, no, thank you. I'm going to go back and be offensive coordinator.
Which is crazy when you think about it, man. Like, I ain't going to lie. I'm kind of glad that didn't happen. I have many people on my channel know. I know Ben personally. Ben and I went to school together. Ben's dad and I were good. I wouldn't call us friends. I was someone that he saw mature and develop because I used to spend just about every waking moment of my freshman year in Mr. Johnson's principal office. But, we took a liking to each other before I left school just because he seen me turn my life around, from running around with the wrong crowd into, really taking academics and, chorus and things like that more serious. But I'm kind of glad we didn't hire him because it would have been tough for me. I would not have been – it's like the same thing with Rico. Like I could say out loud, that I feel like Trevor Etienne should probably get some reps over Rico, but that's tough for me to say because Rico is an AC Reynolds alum. So that, my bias is going to show there, right? Because, it's with me, it's like I'm ride or die when it comes to anybody from Reynolds. But let me read this super chat from Ian. Ian, I appreciate the chat, man. Ian says, I don't think Dave gets fired during the season, but if the Ravens let go of their head coach, I believe Tepper would give it some thought, but it's Tepper. Okay. Totally understand that. And then I got another super chat from another one from Steve-O. Steve-O going to spend his whole rent check with us today, boy. I'm trying to tell you. Appreciate you. Steve-O says, coach and players play there is a disconnect. They say they're tired of losing, but play like bleep every week. Same excuses every week. I could not agree more, my friend. Could not agree more. So, Brad, I wanted to ask you something. We talked about, you had made some points, and I wanted to speak to something you had said, but I kind of forgot it, so I'm going to keep moving on to what we were talking about before. But when we were talking about Bryce, David Newton asked Dave Canales a question. He said, hey, is there a chance that Bryce Young is he going to be your quarterback moving forward? And Dave Canales was like 100% unequivocally, he is our quarterback moving forward. But I will say this. There's some misses. There's some deficiencies that show up, right? And I get it. The protection broke down a lot yesterday, right? But I can't use that as an excuse. I would maybe like to sometimes, but you just can't do it, right? You would like to use Mike Rimmers as an excuse for Von Miller in the Super Bowl, but you can't do it, because the result is the result, right? Even though from a context perspective, it makes all the sense in the world, right? So my question would be, is there a chance that you think that they would consider, based on some of the misses? I mean, that last play, man, I'm not going to play it for monetization's sake just because I don't want to, screw up my monetization. But there's a fourth down play that I clipped, and I had asked a question. I actually added Kurt Warner, and I haven't gotten a response yet. Don't know that I even will. But added Kurt Warner, and I'm just like, hey, man, what was this? This looked crazy. It looked like someone put a mesh rail concept up in the comments to kind of show me like, okay, well, it was supposed to be this. Bryce maybe should have looked at Chuba Hubbard, who looked and appeared to be open, but then other people refuted that and said, well, no, Hunter Renfrow was supposed to set the pick, and then, Tedero McMillan is supposed to be the guy. Regardless to how any of that looked, the reason I clipped that is because of what it looked like from Bryce's perspective, because it looked to me like a guy who was frustrated, dirted the ball right in front of a defender that could have possibly even been picked, because you got two guys like literally bumping into each other, and T-Mac, my apologies, T-Mac and Hunter Renfrow, and it's just like, man, what is this? And it just looked to me like, man, he's tired of it. He's just tired of it all. And so my question is like, is there a world that exists where next week, if it looks like that to start the game and not like what we saw the first drive of the game, you think they go to Dalton?
I don't think so, because I think at this point, you've got to prove, if you're going to keep your job beyond this season, if you're going to be like, I am not the problem, you have to let Bryce play out.
Mm-hmm.
In those plays, because this is the thing, he is an NFL offensive coordinator that did have a good year before he came to us. He is an NFL coordinator who came up as a wide receivers coach. So I don't put it on him that the wide receivers are running into each other on routes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But when all the mistakes happen, again, it falls at his feet. But you have to look at the play-by-play and see, the plays Bryce makes. One of the big things with him coming out of Alabama was, his downfield percentage. And we see that he continues to struggle with that. I don't know if that's one of those things, because Gruden talked about, his drop back. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much. I know footwork is a huge deal, but how much that could be a difference on what happens when he goes deep.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to give him the chance to improve this season. And then if he doesn't, you have your receipts. You have your, this doesn't work. This is why it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Then you move on. Because all you're doing now, only reason you would go to anybody else would be because you think you can win with them. And we saw in the preseason, Andy was almost completely cooked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, unless he was injured or it was just that the backup offensive line was that bad. I mean, Andy was struggling.
Yeah.
I would, give a shout out though. He did pass for his 254th touchdown yesterday, and he is now 25th on the list of all-time quarterback touchdowns.
Salute to Andy Dalton. Yeah, that's huge.
But he's still cooked.
Let me read this super chat real quick. This comes from Steve-O. When you run draw on a draw play on third down, you're saying you don't trust your QB. Canales and Bryce are not on the same page. They have trust issues. I 100% agree. What do you say to that, Invisible Sir?
Which means you did the third down?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I continue to puzzle over myself. I mean, I can understand them, still trying to get on the same page. It's the very first of the second year of him being in the offense.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't quite put my hand on if there's trust there. I mean, because, if a team goes four high safety, not four high, four high, two deep safeties, then yeah, you hit them with a draw play on third down, and it's like, you get it, you don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point in the game, we needed to move the ball.
Yes.
And we needed to score points.
Yep.
So is it better that at the end of the game he has no turnovers and you get beat 42-13, or would you rather try to make a play there? Because you can't, I mean, yesterday is what happens when you rely on a specific, part of your team and they just, let you down over and over. I mean, we were punting the ball yesterday like we had the best defense in the league,
mm-hmm.
and they ended up giving up 6 touchdowns. You got to come out firing.
Yeah.
On third down and 10, and there was another, I think it was like 3rd and 11, and you do those draw plays, man, you got to scheme something up.
Yeah, agree.
So I don't know whether it's the trust, them, same page. A lot of people say same page instead of trust, but it's definitely still a rocky relationship, because he didn't give him a chance on either of those plays.
Not at all. Anthony, C3 Anthony, shout out to my man C3 Anthony, says Andy isn't the answer, but John, can we be honest with this, with how this offense is the biggest weakness of the team when we have an offensive-minded head coach? Yeah, I agree with that. And like Brad said, one thing that has to be noted is, if you are calling draw plays on the third down, right, and you're not kind of acquiescing to what the defense is presenting to you, then yeah, there is a trust issue. But the trust issue is there from you talked about it, Brad. You said receipts, man. Allow the receipts to speak for themselves. You know what I'm saying? The one thing I wouldn't do if I'm Dave Canales, and I can't, man, when you millions up and you're doing this and, this is your profession, the last thing I'm going to do is tell you what I think you should do, right? But if it's me, bro, I'm going to let the receipts tell themselves. The story going to tell itself. It always will. A lie ain't never going to, a lie will tell itself in a phone booth. You know what I'm saying? Here's the truth. If you are worried about turnovers, how worse could it get than a 42-point loss? You're going to walk away from this saying, well, at least we didn't turn the ball over. You know what I'm saying? No.
Right.
Heck no. If this issue of turnovers is solely on him, whether it's protection breaking down, he gets hit and he fumbles, whether it's you throw a ball to Bryson Tremaine like he did yesterday in triple coverage, I'm talking about a rocket to Bryson Tremaine, could have easily been picked. Safety comes over, jumps the route, had the ball in his hands. You know what I'm saying? And you're asking yourself right then, you're like, man, what are you doing, dog? Like, this is just not characteristic of somebody who is supposed to have such a hold on this offense. And even if you're frustrated, like, figure it out. Do something else. Put it on your back. Start running and get hit, and then let them, realize, like, oh, man, he putting his body on the line for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, do something other than, mistake-prone football. But if I'm Dave and I see a play like that on 3rd down, 3rd and 12, nah, here you go, little guy. Dial it up. Deep.
Do you?
Deep post. Get to it. You throw that pick, hey, that is receipts for me. I have said this from Jump Street. If you're Dave Canales and you're going to keep your job, you got to walk into that office. You talked about it, Brad. Can I tell you no? You know what, sir? I might not be able to tell you no, but let me tell you what I do know. Here's a log and a receipt of things that we see as deficiencies that haven't changed, right? When we watch the hitches, we don't see hitches step back. We see pedal backs, but even the stuff that Bryce is doing now in some ways wasn't happening in college, man. You would see the kind of pedal back or whatever, but for the most part, the kind of drifting backwards and the heels clicking together before you set your feet. If the feet aren't marrying the routes, man, of course the deep pass is going to be off. Of course it is. I'm no football guru, but I listen to enough of them to know. That's why we were talking about how Gruden was questioning certain things. Hey, man, historically, I get it. Aaron Rodgers does this. It looks like it's something a lot of kids are doing. But there's one small thing. You're not Aaron Rodgers, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, so why are you doing it? And now that you're comfortable doing it, like, it's kind of hard to change it. It makes it makes me frustrated. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't gonna lie, dog. I've been front line for Bryce, man, and I'm still gonna be. Just because I'm being critical don't mean I still ain't 10 toes, man. I've been front line, and I know it's a whole host of people who I done smoked going down the stretch last year and in the offseason that's just waiting. Like, boy, as soon as little buddy is out of here, we about to let you have it. And I'm like, you know what? Hey, I'm cool with that. Hey, let me tell you where I'm at right now. The Titanic has just hit the iceberg, right? I got my violin in my hand. I ain't start playing yet, but as soon as the bow break, I'm going to be right there with the violin like, hey, man, we going down with the ship. Like,
it's been nice playing with you, fella.
Exactly. Somebody said one time before, they was like, man, if it was some black people on that, boy, they'd have been playing. I ain't gonna say that, man, because it's awful. Like, talk about the kind of music they'd have been playing. It's terrible.
It's the same thing, though. I was a huge Kerry Collins guy, and then it comes to light that he has a drinking issue, and then he's using racial epithets to describe teammates, and it's like, oh man, well, that's it for that era. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Shout out to my mod JP in the building. What's up, boy? Hey, look, when I told you just a minute ago, I got a line of people that's gonna be waiting to flame me. And so JP might be at the top of that line because JP always be giving, and he one of my moderators. I'm like, bro, what's up? But I promise you this, JP, if little buddy figure it out, I'm on your top. Pause. Go ahead, Brad.
Well, yeah, like I said, just collect the receipts, man. Be like, listen, I dialed this up. This guy was open. It's happened this number of times. This is not the guy I can use going forward to make my team successful. If you don't have a quarterback, you just look at some of these teams in this league that have great offenses, great defenses, and great defenses, great special teams, and their offense just can't get it done. You know what I mean? When you look at the way like a Justin Herbert's finally putting it together and how the Chargers look, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The pretty much everybody, offensive line, defensive line, safeties, linebackers, special teams, they've all been playing that Harbaugh ball. And they've been waiting for him to start hitting open passes. And, Quentin Johnson learned to catch again this year. But that's one of the things, like, how we can take the positives of, The line looked good. Chuba was a 1,000-yard rusher. But now there's no positives anywhere across the board. And that's the issue. Because, like, okay, so, that goes back to Canales. And here's my thing with, Canales and Bryce is, what kind of quarterback do you want for your system? And we've already talked ad nauseum that Frank Wright did not want Bryce to be his quarterback. He didn't want to draft him, and it was solidified by, I remember you telling me Boomer Esiason had a quote about it.
Yeah, he was on TV. He said it on TV. Yeah.
Right. So he says that you move on, you bring in this guy. They're still struggling. We still see the throws that Bryce is missing. We still see the, questionable decisions he's making. Like the throw in triple coverage yesterday, the 2nd and 7 where he could have ran and he ended up throwing it at the feet of a linebacker. And so you have got to either put those receipts down by giving him the option to do what he wants to do, or you got to move on. Because, and this is the dichotomous nature of it, I don't understand why you allow the kid to make all those checks at the line of scrimmage. You let the kid, he checks out of a lot of plays. You know what I'm saying? You give him the autonomy to do that, but then on 3rd and 10, twice, needing points down, your defense needs a breather, you give a couple handoffs and punt.
Yeah. That's fascinating. I've talked about this before. There was a conversation that Mike Lombardi was having about Eli Manning and Aaron Rodgers, and he was talking about how they run a similar offense. Ben McAdoo ran a similar offense as whoever the OC was. Well, actually, I don't say it was OC. It was Mike McCarthy, right? The difference is that Aaron would kind of go off script. Aaron would make checks at the line of scrimmage. Eli would, make a couple of, he would identify Mike going up to the line of scrimmage or whatever like that. But he pretty much ran the system for what it was. Like, you still have the autonomy to recognize it looks like they're showing blitz, but it might be disguised coverage. Hey, just watch out for this, guys. So hey, I need to do X, Y, and Z. Or you could maybe small checks, check to a run, check to look and see what your hots are, whatever like that, see who's hot and make a decision there. But it just feels like when you listen to Canales in the press conference, and this is kind of an indictment, right? Because yes, we can look at offense and say that the offense doesn't look, the greatest. It doesn't look established. But if you got two things that you're fighting against, number one, I can't necessarily get the running game established because nobody's afraid for us to take the top off the defense. So play action is laughable when you do that. Number two, man, when you listen to Dave Canales sometimes, that play, I'll give you the red zone play in the Jaguar game, right, where Bryce just kind of sails it on 4th down. Everybody's upset. Everybody's pissed off, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. And it's man, when you see something like that happen, you wonder, and you start listening to Dave Canales, is he changing plays to the wrong plays, and the communication is solely coming from the fact that he's doing that? Because you can see times where the announcers will say man, look at what Bryce just did here, check into this play or whatever. But then sometimes it's just man, you wonder if maybe the opposite is happening because of what you're hearing from Dave Canales in the press conference. And let me real quick before you answer, man, I want to just salute a couple of guys, man. Got some super chats. My man, moderator JP with the $20 super chat, man. Appreciate that, bro. JP ain't even say nothing, man. He just dropped the 20 and left. Put it in the collection plate and was I don't even want to come to the front. No baptism, no salvation prayer, nothing. Just drop it and leave, boy. That's the kind of stuff make TD Jakes be like, whoa, boy, what you doing there? All right.
The more he gives, right. The more you give, the more he gives to you.
That's right.
Just keep on giving.
Amen. So my man Steve O with another super chat. I'm telling you, Steve O done paid the rent. Steve-O says, when you don't put in your next best player on the O-line for Bryce, do you really want him to have success at all? Especially the questionable play calling as well. Yeah, you and I argued about this last night, Brad. Let's get to it. Brady Christensen, man. Like, why is Brady Christensen? If you talk Brady Christensen up, no different than the Jimmy Horn thing. We're gonna get to that too. We just slow crawling our way to everything. But you talked up Brady Christensen so much, right? Man, he was, he's so versatile, and he's our. And Dave Canales did say this because you mentioned this to me, and I didn't hear this, and then I went back and listened to it. He talked about how he wants Brady is your backup center. So clearly, you don't want to put him in harm's way. So I guess I'm kind of answering the question. But I personally would have much rather seen Brady Christensen come in and play that relief guard than Brandon Walton. I'm sorry, but what do you say to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was my answer. I mean, he said, when Zavala first got injured, with his knee injury, we brought in Walton just because of the fact that Brady provides so much versatility along the line, that, especially center. And, I think that's just one of those things, a snap decision. So, I mean, if you trust anything the man says, like, I can trust to say, I trust that he said that for the particular reason why he made the decision. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's falling. Everybody's dropping like flies. You got Xavier. You got David Moore. Then the Delvin Campbell. And so he's like, man, hey, if Cade Mays gets hurt and Brady Christian gets hurt, I mean, you know what I'm saying? We have nobody to put in. And they immediately remedied that. And he finished with 43 snaps. So I can't be too hardy on him for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they saw Brandon Walton was out there struggling. And so then they went with Brady. But it's another one of those, I mean, we're so thin and we seemingly, I was telling you before, I mean, like, it's going to take years to build up the depth. But it's so crazy that the positions we had that were supposed to be, I mean, we're supposed to be 7, 8 deep. We had a problem, and we had initially cut Hunter Renfrow because we had so much talent at receiver. And
so much talent. Gosh, let me tell you.
Run double tight for 60% of the game because we don't have any receivers to put in the game.
And I also think, Dave Canales did say that, 12 and 13 personnel is something that, he wanted to do just for extra protection in the running game and because of how the offensive line is, crumbling to pieces. But Asia Birch, I think that's how you say it, Lasia. I'm sorry, I may have messed up your name, sorry. But Asia Birch says, play Jimmy Horn. All right, look, I done said this a whole bunch of times, so now I'm about to go on my rant, right? Check it out. Yo, Dave Canales, you cannot convince me on any planet that what you are seeing from Hunter Renfrow is any better than what you would see from Jimmy Horn on any level. Ending around, jet sweep, something, screen. This man could take the ball and literally go 80 yards. Hey, what did Boobie Miles say? Hey, coach, I can do it for you. Let Boobie spin. Put Boobie in. Hey, I could be dead wrong, but at least I'm going to look to see what it looks like. I'm going to put him in and give him an opportunity. If he is not on the field next week, then we got to have an explanation of that, whether it's an injury or whatever it is. Something has to be done about Jimmy Horn getting in a uniform and on the field. And I could be dead wrong.
Well, no, I mean, at this point, I would rather, it's the same with Bam Martin Scott on defense. I would rather see Bam Martin Scott get beat on a crossing route by a tight end than to see Christian Roseboom on a blitz run by a quarterback or run by a running back ever again. You know what I'm saying? I would rather see Jimmy Horn Jr. run the wrong route and they throw an interception over the top than to see Hunter Renfrow returning punts, than to see him, like you said, doing the end-around jet sweep stuff. We're watching you guys on television. We're seeing you guys on YouTube, social media. The kid's practicing. No one can cover him. I understand he was a 6th-round pick. But like I said, so was Puka Nacua.
Yep.
Now that, and I mean, and so I'm saying there are guys you put in, there are guys you're playing for your special teams. Okay, now your special teams are trash. So it don't matter if he can play gunner or not. But I know he returned more punts in college than Trevor Etienne. And I know that once you double covered, rolled your coverage to Travis Hunter, he kept the chains moving at Colorado.
100%. You could make an argument that his speed and the mere threat of his speed. Like, bro, I've seen him do stuff that Tyreek Hill has done. Like, there was one play in particular, and this is what really got me excited. Shedeur, step back, Jimmy Horn, run, crossing route. And, man, Shadeur's moving around, looking for Travis, can't find Travis, hits Jimmy Horn. Jimmy Horn caught the ball. I mean, it was a perfectly anticipated ball from Shedeur. Man, caught that thing in stride, went up the sideline, and deuces. And I'm like, man, you can't tell me that even if he's not the guy that would catch something or even have a route like that you would be looking for him, just the diversion of seeing somebody that fast on the field flying by you is enough to get a safety to look off maybe just 1 second so that Bryson Tremaine play turns into a completion. Or that McMillan, that you have a more, open opportunity downfield because the safety's like, Lord have mercy. Or the corner's looking over there like, man, who we going to get? It's either him or him. I'm sorry, man. Like, and maybe what he shows when he gets his opportunities in practice, maybe there's some things that he did during the, I know they asked him a question. He had a really funny quote when he was talking about he don't play defense or whatever like that. I'm not sure if maybe his, perspective on maybe playing special teams or whatever like that, maybe a deal, or maybe they don't believe in that or whatever. But like I said, at any rate, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Brad, but at any rate, man, we got to see him. You got to see what you got. I don't care at this point, man, everybody. But like Panthers for Life says, Dan Chisena before Jimmy Horn? No.
Oh man, yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
No. No.
If they do that, we're coming. It's flaming next week.
Yes. All day.
I mean, I don't understand the fact that. I mean, I get it, 6th round pick, all that, but at this point, your injuries, because I mean, Jalen Coker, he will come off, the designated 4-week IR, but it doesn't seem like he's ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think they supposedly held out XL because of precaution this week, but next week, Jimmy Horn deserves a jersey.
Absolutely. And
it's one of those, can things get worse type scenarios. At the crux, at the bottom of it, it's, can things get worse? He couldn't be any worse.
Right.
But the thing also, like you said, man, the kid's got otherworldly fast twitch. You know what I'm saying? He's got the hands. So give him a shot now. People are injured. People are struggling to get open. You need some. No one is scared of your wide receiver core taking the top off of anything.
Right.
So it's time for him to get a jersey now.
Absolutely. So I want to move on to last topic here, man. Is it possible that the Carolina Panthers just were feeling themselves too much? Like maybe coming off of that 30-point, that goose egg to the Atlanta Falcons, which is always and forever going to be up with y'all. Is it possible that maybe they were just feeling themselves too much? And, hey, man, we came out lazy because we hadn't seen anything like that. Like, yeah, we had some wins going down the stretch, but like I said, it's different when you win a game and then your percentages change. We saw that little graph yesterday in the game. Teams that go 1-3, 14% chance to make the playoffs. Teams that go 2-2 or 1-2 or whatever, more like 35 to 40% chance to make the playoffs. So is it possible that they're thinking like, man, we've arrived?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of positivity. I saw that, J.C. Horn was on Good Morning Football. People were rocking with us last week. I mean, people, they were talking about us the week before for all the negative things, and then there was positivity around that 30-point win because, and let's be honest, Bijan Robinson is one of the most dynamic talents in the league.
And he went off yesterday.
Yeah, they ate yesterday. It blew my mind. I was like, I thought at least their season was going to take a tumble for a couple of games. I mean, they bounced back against a playoff team. So, and I don't, and it's hard for me to say that professionals, because I grew up in the era of, Michael Jordan, of these just otherworldly sports stars, and every week it was serious enough. Every week it was a small slight that they would take, put in their mind, and turn it to something major, and go play, like their hair was on fire. So to grow up now and then to see these teams that either, give, half-ace effort during the week and then come out there and lay goose eggs, or overlook teams, that just blows my mind that that's a thing. But I thought they were galvanized to at least come out and hit somebody in the mouth. And they did none of those things. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. That opening drive was scripted very well.
Yeah, when it's all scripted, it looks great.
But, I mean, also, too, the coaches let them down, dude. I mean, we talked about the youth movement last week. And then you end up yesterday, I mean, Lathan Ransom only played 15 snaps on defense. You know what I mean? Princely Umami-Allen, 12 snaps. So, I mean, but who played 96% of the snaps? Nick Scott. You know who, again, played 100% of the snaps? Christian Roseboom.
Will not
and
get
then,
it done.
And then, I mean, you take all your exceptional guys off of special teams. I mean, I like the Bryson Tremaine story, but I like him going down and covering kicks and knocking people's neck loose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Ray Lewis used to say, and knock a neck loose.
Yeah.
That's what I like from him. I don't want to see him consistently running routes, trying to get open. Because if that was the thing, he would be doing that for Washington and not on our team after we signed him off their practice squad. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact.
Delvin Campbell was running routes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you left yourself with the opportunity. And, I mean, you never think it would come up. We didn't think David Moore was going to get hurt on his first play from scrimmage. But that's what you left yourself with.
Yeah.
After those two receivers got hurt, our tight ends aren't good enough for us to go out there and go exclusively, you know what I'm saying, play action, double tight, and move the ball down the field. Our receivers aren't there yet.
I want to read this from Black and Blue real quick. Salute to Black and Blue. It says, film is exposing why Canal is stuck to run on third downs. Interior offensive line was giving up pressures on the two previous plays each time. And I take it that he's talking about, all 22, but they clipped me for the all 22 last time, so I ain't playing none of that stuff today. But yeah,
that was Brandon Walton time, right?
Yeah, maybe I would have to. At least one of them was. I'm not sure at what point the channel of Zavala go down, but it's possible that it was in and around that time.
Well, it was first half.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch to see who was actually out there at that specific point. I did want to read something real quick though. When I mentioned what the Panthers feeling themselves, I happened to run across this. This is Nick Saban's The 5 Enemies of Greatness. Now I'm not going to read all of this, but I'm going to read a couple of things that I think could be poignant to our conversation. It says, if everybody doesn't buy into the same principles and values of the organization and the same high standard, you're never going to be successful. That's what Nick Saban says, right? Now, Nick Saban, a Belichick disciple, if you will, from his time in Cleveland, but says entitlement. This could be one of the things that, maybe we were feeling a little too much. Success makes people think they deserve more without doing more. Not to say these guys aren't working hard, because I think they are, right? Entitlement is the belief that the past effort guarantees a future reward. When you see a team come out as aggressive as they did yesterday, and then you talk about the snap counts, right? You do wonder, what was the week of practice like to where Lathan Ransom, you said, had how many? 10? Or was it 18 or 10? One or the other?
15.
Okay, yeah.
15, yeah.
15, yeah. Greatness only belongs to those who earn it again every day. You get up every day. You're entitled to nothing. Nothing is acceptable, but your best. Lack of discipline. Without discipline, talent becomes wasted potential. I don't think you have a lack of talented guys. You said this last night. You talked about, man, what happened with Roseboom? At least you've seen him moving around and making tackles in that, the NFC divisional game last year in the snow, and when he got his opportunity, because he was a special teams guy who got moved up because of a lack of personnel because of injury or whatever. But in the moments you've seen him last year, like, he played solid for LA, right? So like, you get here and it's like everything changes, right? Why is that? Well, I think sometimes without discipline, certain disciplines, and discipline that you might not even necessarily like have in your own life. Like you may have the type of discipline in your own life that takes you to the next level. You're in the NFL. Nobody is in the NFL by mistake, maybe except for DJ Johnson. But everybody is in the NFL for a specific reason, right? And so the thing is like, when you're in this, fraternity of men who get the privilege to play, maybe sometimes it's the discipline that is coming from up top that's not, helping you to be able to develop the talent that you have, because clearly there's a coaching discrepancy here from where you came from. Circumstances over vision. I think this one is really important. This is a good one. It says average performers let circumstances dictate their attitude and effort. Boy, heard somebody say this. We feel reactionary. You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like, look, drive out of the gate. Man, it looked great. Everything came together great, just like it did, against Atlanta. That first drive, man, moving the ball down the field with ease, it looks like, and the first defensive drive. We about to run the table up in Foxborough, and I'm telling you, it's going to get ugly, because those dudes on the radio said that our 30-point win was the worst win they ever seen, which, I got to be honest with you, bro, I was looking forward to flaming these dudes. I was going to play that clip over and over again today, and we were literally just going to eat the carcass. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, didn't quite work out that way. But it just feels like we get that first hit in the mouth, boom, and then it's like you don't really have a counter for that. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm bleeding. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. Great performers stick to their vision no matter the conditions. Hey, okay, I get it. When you're down, it is very difficult for you to do things that you say that you want to do. But I will go back to the beginning clip. Brad, you and I argued about this last night. I'll let you cut in right here. I want to be bullish with the run. 10 carries for Chuba Hubbard is not being bullish with the run. Please take over, Brad. Where am I wrong?
Well, it's the obvious sentiment that, being a football fan, you've got to see from past games, when you've got to pass at a certain point, you've got to pass. I felt like the first drive they mixed the run really well. The second drive they tried to mix the run really well. With Chuba Hubbard and his 10 carries, that's also conflated by you're trying to get Rico Dowdle carries. You know what I mean? I get why you sign a Rico Dowdle. You want to have a good backup running back and a third down type of guy. But it's kind of hard for a guy to get in a rhythm if you take all the carries that would be his lean on you carries, you know what I'm saying, where you're getting into the flow of the game and give those to another player. Canales, this is what he told Mark Schlereth, was he wants guys to be 100% on the gas pedal, and then you can come out of the game, we'll put someone else in. But when you go to the end and you start looking at the snaps and see that, Chuba had 35 snaps, and then Rico had 27, that means a lot of that production is going to get cut in half. And my thing is, if you sign a bell cow back let him be your bell cow back.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, I get you're trying to, give Dowdle some carries, but I mean, when we look at these other stats, I don't feel like Bobby Brown signed here to get 18 snaps a game.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. That's a really great point.
Tershawn Wharton was on a snap count, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he played 31 snaps. But Ashawn Robinson hasn't been hurt. He hasn't had any hamstring issues, and he only played 29.
Mm.
I think he's our other best D lineman, not named Derek Brown.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel like there's and I talked about this before about like the lack of practice. And that's one thing maybe we can reproach one day in depth, just like the fact that you don't have two-a-days anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You cut preseason from 4 games to 3 games. It still feels like our coaching staff and our players, to an extent, are still trying to find their bearings on the season, but we're 4 games in.
Yeah, it's funny. Magic Johnson talked about that. I saw a clip. Magic Johnson talking to, I believe it might have been All the Smoke. It may have been that. It could have been someone else. But Magic was saying, he was like, man, these guys get hurt. He was talking about Michael Jordan. He's like, Michael Jordan from like rookie season, outside of when he, got injured. And even then he was out playing pickup ball, and they, the front office was pissed at him or whatever, because he, wasn't, on the court or whatever. Like, he played 90% of the games, like every single year. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, these guys are getting injured because they're not practicing enough. They're not playing enough. But that's what happens when you come to the table and you lock the doors, and the CBA says, like, or they're like, hey, we want this as far as revenue is concerned, and then we also want this. And when you're at the mercy of some of the players sometimes, and their representation, you really don't have a choice. So like, and then also when you think about certain two-a-days, like, I don't think it would be a bad idea to put, if you're going to have two-a-days, to have guys in positions to where they're not in the worst conditions possible, right? Like, for example, Corey Stringer, running two-a-days in Minnesota and dies from a heat stroke. And he wasn't the only one. There were multiple players, throughout the 80s and 90s that we just didn't hear about. His was one of the more, the more talked about situations, especially when you saw Randy Moss, like, crying in the press conference or whatever after it happened. But like, you can make more favorable conditions for these guys and still practice at a really high clip, like a two-a-days. Like, when you and I play football, man, like that, I play football for all of a cup of coffee, and I had two-a-days, and I was like, yeah, nah, I'm a singer. I'm a content. I'm a creator. Like, I love playing guitar. Like, I'll leave that for y'all, man. Even though one of my biggest regrets, man, to go to a high school powerhouse. I was watching a video the other day. I was talking about Ben Johnson. Ben won the state championship, I think, a year after I graduated. And they won, because we won in '99, the year that I think I might have been a freshman when we won. And they won in 2003, I believe it was, 03-04 season. And it's just like, we just had a powerhouse team, especially that 99 year, man. Like, we beat Richmond, who hadn't lost a game in 3 years. We beat a team down in Denton, Texas that, was a powerhouse, had like, 5-star players, like some NFL guys on their team, in high school. Like, it was a team of, destiny. And it was like us and Asheville High went to the state championship the same year. And the only loss we had that entire year was to Asheville High. And it was a low-scoring game. It just, they just struggled. Asheville High was a, real deal school. And a lot of those guys know each other because, Robertson, yeah, cool. You know what I'm saying? Inca, North Buncombe, all right, whatever. But, like, Reynolds and Asheville, that was the rivalry, right? And so, yeah, I do have a regret sometimes of, not going back and being able to experience that. But, man, when you see how those guys used to practice back then, it, Brad. You played college football, you played high school football. Like, you played during the two-a-day era. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel like it would have hampered you guys if they came to y'all and said, hey, y'all can only practice like once or twice a week?
It definitely would have hampered development. I mean, reps gets you practice, and practice makes perfect. You know what I mean? It's just that easy. Or that simple. You know what I mean? I feel like quarterback play has gone down in the league. Offensive line play has gone down in the league, and that is a direct result of a lack of reps in a practice atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just been what it, since they, did the new CBA and all that, that's just what it's been. And so guys are having to get used to that. But I feel like we as fans are getting an inferior product for the first 2, 3, 4 weeks of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I was saying. It was it's such a boon to a team like Philadelphia, to start out 4-0, or Indy, the 3-1, because once these other teams get their heads screwed on straight, you already 3-4 games ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be trying to work in on the back end of the playoff structure, and you're going to be sitting at home with bye weeks.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I feel like we're kind of still throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks, and we're 4 weeks into the season. I mean, we won't know exactly what we have for another couple of weeks. I mean, I feel like personally, this team would have looked different coming out of the gate with XL, T-Mac, and Jalen Coker at the slot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like this team would have looked better if we'd have had Josie Jewell starting at linebacker opposite Trevin Wallace.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a huge loss, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are things that keep happening
mm-hmm.
that, cause a lot of these issues. I mean, people just not executing. And I don't know if that's when things are going to get better until we fire, Canales, or we move on from Dan Morgan. But I do know that these players look like they need to practice more. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You got the play you talked about, T-Mac running into Hunter Renfrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another fourth down where the tight end and Hunter Renfrow got mixed up on the out route.
Yeah.
That was the 4th and 5, inside the 20. And it looks bad.
It does, man. It looks bad. I want to say this, though. I want to finish with this. To finish some of these points of Nick Saban's. And I mean, these are allegedly Nick Saban's quotes. It kind of tracks when you think about the kind of teams that he's always put forth, how Nick Saban has always stuck to his guns. It's amazing how Nick Saban went from a team that, had quarterbacks that many people that aren't, college football nuts like myself wouldn't even remember. Certain guys like, not Jalen Coker, but Jake Coker, you know what I'm saying? Or, Blake Sims. Or, guys like that, A.J. McCarron, Greg McElroy, dudes that, had no business being in NFL locker rooms at all, right? And didn't even really get a chance at that. But he stuck to what he does, right? He didn't, change based on whatever, other teams were doing. But then he did change. Then he started to become QBU, you know what I'm saying, with guys like Tua and Bryce and Mac Jones. And I know Mac isn't, but compared to the field of what he's had before at quarterbacks, they became a quarterback, location where they were, getting guys drafted in the first round. So he made some adjustments, but it didn't change in the moment, right? And so, one of his things, self-pity, I don't think that this team feels that at all. I'm not really going to read any of these because I don't think that they feel any self-pity whatsoever. But I do think a couple of these other things still track. Your standard doesn't change based on based on who you play, what the score is, or how you feel. I've heard Dave Canales literally say in press conferences, when we lose, well, the game started going this way, so we made some adjustments and changed. Look, I understand that, but maybe keep it to yourself. Everything doesn't have to be shared. You know what I'm saying? You talked about it, Brad. You talked about them being outside. Man, little bit of success and everything flips and changes, man. We doing coffee shows. You know what I'm saying? They making me show up to talk to these guys every Monday morning. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever, talking about the recap of the game, and I got to talk. What about just being quiet? What about just me being me? And look, this may be part of the whole package that comes with being, a coach with the Carolina Panthers because of David Tepper. Because these are things that are set up. The media team says, hey, man, maybe they should do this, this, and this from a content perspective. How about y'all let us do some of that? We love the blueprint stuff. That's cool. Even though some of the stuff that happens in it is just propaganda, as many people, say out there every year, right? Because none of it seems to materialize, right? We get all excited. I'm gonna tell you, I said this on Twitter, and people was like, "Well, that's your fault for being gullible." I'm not gullible. I'm not stupid, right? But what I was saying is the point. Boy, they sure do a good job of packaging it up for us every year, thinking that things have changed. Boy, they might be the best in the business at it. These blueprints, man, they come out. Now they getting the content creators involved. Oh, man, Dan Morgan was cooking. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and it's just like, man, so effing what? Man, when are we going to see a consistent result? That's what we care about, right? And I'm sure that many of y'all feel the same way. But that's what we care about, me and Brad, right? And so then complacency. The moment you think you've arrived, you start to decline. Complacency turns champions into ex-champions. Hunger and humility must outlast success if you want to stay great. And then last but not least, complacency creates a blatant disregard for doing what is right. I don't think that some of these things apply to this team because, like I said, when I listen to those guys on 98.5, the sports flub up in Boston, when they were talking about our 30-0 victory, worst 30-0 victory they've ever seen, you know what I'm saying? Like, is this the least talented team in the NFL, least talented roster or whatever like that? I do not believe that about these guys at all. But what I do believe about them is that there is a lack of keen focus and not knowing who you are. Dave said it himself. We're still trying to figure out who we are. Why? In week 4, oh, it's a wrap. You basically just, succeeded to the union. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the season's a wrap. If that's the philosophy, we're trying to figure out who we are in week 5. I mean, I get the point. You got to say stuff because you're in the press conference. And Dave is a guy that's always going to give, his unfiltered opinions on things. But sometimes it's just like, man, hey, we things going to work out, give all the positive stuff, all the Pete Carroll stuff. You know what I'm saying? Give us that. Don't give us all this.
You want to old John Fox? It is what it is.
It is what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Well, yeah, and to the players, it's like, listen, I understand everyone's not a great player, but I always go back to this. Jerry Rice once said, good players make great plays sometimes, but great players always make the easy play.
Always.
Always, man. When I saw those 3 kids, the 2 gunners and backup linebacker standing there around that man who didn't call a fair catch, wondering, should I hit him? Should I not hit him? Should I hit him? Oh, crap, he's running. And then to see it looked like the entire Patriots sideline was blocking for it.
Mm-hmm.
The doink, hitting the 57-yarder, then kicking a 55-yarder short. If it was complacency, the parallels you made between the points and what we saw on the field yesterday, it definitely showed.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, you got a guy who kicked it wasn't windy. You got a guy that misses an extra point. You got a guy who misses a 55-yard field goal. You got a team who was top 15, top 11 in the league. They were actually ranked 11th in punt coverage, kickoff. They were top 5 in kickoff coverage. Completely crap the bed yesterday on special teams.
Mm-hmm.
Defense, who had been coming up, making plays, shut down one of the most electric players in the league, and Bijan Robinson. We didn't get anything from their receivers.
Mm-hmm.
To giving up 6 touchdowns to second-year quarterback. And then an offense who put up 13 points. Somebody was complacent.
Somebody.
Because it showed. You know what I mean?
He needs some milk.
A whole, vitamin D.
Something. So, it's been another one, y'all. Press conference is getting ready to come up. If it hadn't happened already, not currently watching. I'll take a look to see if they've started. Let's just go on here and hit the home screen and see what's happening. What's happening? Yes, Jared, you're right. DJ weren't. Oh Lord, Jared Feinberg. Shout out to my boy Jared. Just flame DJ Johnson, boy. DJ Johnson had the worst performance by an edge rusher I've seen in a long time. Yes, sir. I'm saying this in Jared's voice. They may like his run game value, but he didn't do a lick of it on Sunday. No discipline.
I couldn't believe he started.
At all. Can't either. No discipline in key downs and over pursued. Out of position too much. Time to cut ties with this former Federer pick. Get that. No, I ain't gonna say that. Salute to Jared. And that's not how Jared talks at all, by the way. But shout out to my Asheville brethren. But yeah, DJ Johnson was awful.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, press conference is getting ready to come up. I'm not going live during it, man. Me and Brad have talked enough. We've joked enough. I'm not going to be on here acting crazy because that's what can happen if I hear something that I don't like. So we about to get up out of here, man. Brad, it's been another great one, man. What they doing in Watauga County today?
Hoping it don't rain.
Hoping it don't rain, hoping it don't snow, man. Hey, we dodged the bullet, man. Thank God. This storm was getting ready to get ugly.
That tropical depression is so powerful that it's sucking itself back out to the coast. Not back out to the coast, but back out into the ocean. So let's hope that holds.
It's doing what?
Holds? That's how I read it from the report I got.
Right.
They said, like, I was like, wait, hold on a second. It was like the tropical depression 9 is so powerful that it is sucking itself back out into the Atlantic Ocean. I was like, yeah, all right. I mean, it's great news.
Oh my gosh. Panther Gal says, okay, get your therapy. I don't know if it's gonna be therapy. I'm getting something though. But salute to my man Key, man. Hey, look, 4K in this thing, boy. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. Just went over 4K, man. We've been putting the work in, man. It's been substantial growth, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. That really comes on the heels of Brad, man. Brad has absolutely added an element to this show that was needed. Trust and believe, Brad will be revealed at a very, very soon date. But man, I can't tell you how happy we are to have you, man. I know the chat loves you. I hear all kind of amazing comments, compliments about your commentary and your knowledge, man. And we appreciate you a lot, Brad. We really do.
Appreciate you for having me. You know what I'm saying? Everybody that knows me knows I'm a Panther ride or die. I remember being in the room flipping out, and my pops coming in and saying, "Hey, man, come make all that noise in here." And I was like, "Listen, Cowboys fan, give me 3 feet." Yeah. I was just let go by the post office, and I would flip out on everybody in here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But yeah, I love Panther football. I mean, it's the team that's an hour and a half away from me. They're very tangible, and want them to be good, man.
Somebody said the Kawhi laugh. I got you, bro. But that boy was like, he was like, I don't even know where you're sitting at. I can't even see you.
Kawhi laugh. I know that's right.
Oh man, salute to my guy JP, man, with the super chat, $5, man. Hey, appreciate you, bro. JP, my day one, man. JP was around. Like, I gotta tell you, I appreciate this brother because a lot of people appreciate JP's contributions. I see that he done got wrenches in a lot of different places, but you knew where you got the first one, dog, and I appreciate that because, man, I'm telling you, JP was around back when I was having like 5, 6, 7 people in the chat, and I was 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? With my big self. You know what I'm saying? So, like, salute to JP. He been a day one, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, bro. But, Man, look, this has been another great episode of Mint Street Mondays, brought to you by the One Carolina Podcast, the One Carolina Network, and the One Carolina Show. I will end with this. Look, we tired, man. We weary, you know. We want to see better. We want to see much better. But until then, the next time the propaganda machine, including myself, tries to tell you how great it's about to be, you really should only have one response. I'll see y'all next week.